Good evening, everybody.
Good
It's
evening.
Sidebar, or
Good evening.
in the bar, or something with a bar.
Side blind, something.
Blind.
It's the best episode of the month because this is the episode where the chat chooses what we talk about, which could be a lot of things. It could go any direction. It could get very scary very quickly, and that's what makes it great.
And that's why we're going to start with our own topic and make the chat wait for a minute.
Well, it's sort of to prime the pump, so to speak.
It is
It's
a
sort
prime
of-
the pump topic, so.
And yes, Barbara, I did see your suggestion. So, but we're going to start with one that we were just talking about backstage before we got started because it was actually a good discussion. So we're going to try to replicate it. But we were talking about how, like, everybody's medicated now, and everybody's got a diagnosis, and we're seeing this so much in the courts. All of these people who are showing up, and they've got a med list as long as their rap sheet.
Yeah.
And we're talking about correlation and all that kind of stuff, and I'd made the comment shortly before we went live that I find it hard to believe that 12 out of 10 people have some kind of mental illness that needs a pill all of a sudden.
Correct.
And we see it in
A
courts
lot
all
of
the time.
doctors, it's their first instinct to go for, oh, you need meds, rather than, I just need somebody to talk to. With last episode, what I was going through.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like everyone hits bumps in the road. It does not mean you need a drug for it, but I feel like I can speak from personal experience too, that when people do have bumps in the road or feel depressed over something, they do turn to drugs in some form or fashion, or feel like there's something wrong with them, that they're going through the emotional issues that they are, even though it's a normal fact of life. And so we were just talking about that, and we see a lot of mental cases in court. It stands out, and a lot of mitigating factors are mental cases too. So it's just something that is fascinating and something worth bringing up.
Yeah. So, and just a disclaimer, because, there's always that guy that'll say something, but this isn't to put down anybody that actually is dealing with a legit mental issue, because certainly those do exist. There are certainly people that have legit diagnosed, actual serious either chemical imbalances or have experienced
Like
trauma in their life.
Issues,
and it's not to put those people down, but it just seems like when we watch a lot of these court cases, Dan said it, 12 out of every 10, it seems like they all have something, a laundry list of issues. And it just, when I was a kid, I mentioned this just before the show, it started right around the time, the late 80s, early 90s, you started to see kids on Ritalin, right? And then it was these other psychotropic drugs that started to come along. And not too long, 8-10 years later, we started to see a rash of these school shootings. And I'm not saying that the two are interconnected directly, but it is kind of an odd coincidence that we started to see this increase in these pharmaceuticals being given to 7 and 8 and 10-year-olds, and then those kids become 15 and 16 and 17-year-olds, and they're, then this rash of violence starts. And again, it's not to say that there's a direct A to B correlation, but it is just odd that started to happen. And then, 35 years later, we're still here, and everybody's got a problem. And it's just weird because, look, I said, I'd like to see some of these people that claim they have these issues come and sit in this panel and look at Austin in a wheelchair and me as a blind guy and tell me again how life is so hard for you as the kid with 2 working arms, legs, and eyes. You know, we saw this in McNally's court. This kid that just had no excuse not to have employment. He had kids, he had a family, and would not work. Would not work. Not could not work.
Would not.
Would not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very frustrating. And that's the other thing too that kind of dovetails off of this is that, you know, all these people have every excuse why they can't get sober or why they can't go to work.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And it is not. It is a them problem. Now I will say, you know, in terms of like some of these pharmaceuticals and stuff, there's definitely an insidious thing that these pharmaceutical companies do when they advertise on TV and they indoctrinate people to think that, hey, your problems can be fixed with a pill. So it's not to say that everybody that gets hooked on stuff is a weak-minded soul. Some of them are people that, you know, again, it's baked into our culture now. You know, and doctors get kickbacks writing scripts. And so it is definitely a larger problem, like most of the things here on Sidebar. It's not just a simple rubber stamp fix. But, you know, it's just a problem that I know we've all seen and we've all commented on many times.
Yes.
I like that you put it as like a cultural baked in kind of thing now, because it really is. I mean,
It is.
and people come up with just excuse after excuse after excuse, and it's all well, this thing made me feel X, you know. And
Yeah.
the biggest one I've seen in the courts, and I think I commented on this earlier today, like on the morning show, I'm pretty sure, or yesterday, was everybody now is, well, my parent died, so I had to go commit a felony.
Yep.
Or, well, it was the anniversary of my parents dying, so I only
Right.
did a misdemeanor this time. You know, huh? I
And
mean, I get that you're.
I didn't
get
know
that, you're
that was,
sad, but come
yeah.
on.
And it's kind of frustrating for me personally because I work. I left a good paying job just to seek happiness for myself, type of thing. And I'm making it my own way, type of
Yep.
thing. I'm still working, and these people can work too. They'll have to find something they're good at, but those jobs are out there. They are on the table somewhere, and they just need to go pursue them and take that effort and that chance to do so. A lot of people just are too lazy or think they are not able to get such jobs, which is totally not true. So it is frustrating that they're not doing something besides. I'm not going to. I know a common one is Uber Eats and DoorDash and those kind of jobs. I don't really want to go there because I don't know. Actually, I will go there. It's not a stable job. You need a stable job just to keep things coming in. If you're relying on DoorDash or Uber Eats, something happens that you're unable to get to do that anymore. I don't know what you're going to do. So everybody needs a plan B at least, I think too. So I'm just saying it's kind of frustrating to me just because, yeah.
Yep.
I deal with things too. Deal with life pressures as well, but I'm not resorting to drugs because of that. And I know Austin and Michael, they're not resorting to drugs too, even though they have things going on. So
It's
it's
the last
occasional
thing I've tried
gummy.
to do.
I will, but mostly
It
if
has
I
to
have one,
level.
if I have one of those, it's mostly because of like a, you know, severe migraine that's
Yep.
kind of partially related to the eyesight thing, and that's about it. I mean,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wahoo's like, for people who have work, I think there's no sympathy for those that refuse to work. And I totally agree. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But he summed it
No.
up perfectly there.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about people who, well, you know, I had to work 30 hours this week, and that was a lot. Cry me a river.
30 hours. I worked 30 hours the last like 3 days.
I know. Yeah,
2
it's
days,
just-
maybe.
I don't know. Everybody's got an excuse, that's for sure, and a medication to deal with their excuse, and I don't think it's helping us. So,
Yep.
but anywho, that's what we started off with backstage. So we thought we'd bring it on stage because it's actually a pretty good conversation.
Yes.
But Lindsay actually submitted a question before she went to the hockey.
The hacky game.
The hacky
Oh,
game.
yeah. Or you got to go there now. Oh, yeah, for sure.
We should have made her call in from there, but we didn't. She said, as we are 1/3 through the year, which cases defendants have stuck out to you so far?
Mm.
I have a few, but I'm curious to see where you guys go.
Well,
The first one that comes to my mind, unfortunately, is Hoarder Man.
Yep, that's where I was gonna start.
We started with him last year too.
Yeah.
I know, but he
Yeah.
keeps on continuing. Actually, we see him next week, everybody, so stay tuned.
Well, hopefully they show him this time. He had
Hopefully.
like technical issues last time.
Yeah.
And he did go to jail this last time that we didn't see him, didn't he? Didn't he get like
Yeah.
another 10 days or something?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was 10
Yeah,
days.
he's
he
been
got.
put in a couple of times now.
It was like 5. Was it
5 days the
5
first
days
time.
and then 10 days? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Come on,
Crazy.
Hoarder Man. I'm rooting for you, dude.
Yep.
But
I don't know.
I don't think he's gonna do anything.
So I'm trying to think of the cases that we had, of course, the guy, like I'm thinking of some of the funny ones and the serious ones. There's the one in, Judge Mercer, who had the guy that was a lawyer from California.
That one was
The
on the
Attorney
top of my
General.
list, Mike.
The
yeah.
undercovered.
Undercover
Um,
Attorney General.
Yeah. That
Yes, that guy, and that one was hilarious. Obviously, what we talked about a couple weeks ago with the case of the caregiver case. We with the
the care.
I thought that was a very interesting, and we've had a couple of those kinds of cases. So there's been a few like that. I have to kind of go back and think about that, but just off the top of my head, that's what comes to mind.
Well, Mike, I know we saw a couple in pardons and paroles too.
Oh yeah.
The one
Yeah,
turned
so we
Jerry
can.
Springer
That's not
show.
excluded.
Well, that was from last year, Austin. That was when I was
That was?
guest hosting. That
Okay.
was like I think that was the first. That was maybe.
Okay, I'm
That's
thinking of
when-
You're right. Yeah, that was when I was guest hosting for Dan.
Yep.
But
Yeah, he was on.
but
his
there
road
have been a
trip.
couple of good ones in pardons and paroles. There have been.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
Well, nothing as crazy as that one while I was gone.
Right. That's what we were doing.
That case was
Yep.
so long it got us halfway through Montana.
Nina's asking, is Hoarder Man before my time? Might have been, Nina.
Well,
This has been going on for a while.
yeah,
We've been
it's
with him
it's
at least 6 months now, maybe
it's
longer.
it's an ongoing saga. I think it started. I think the first time we saw Hoarder Man might have even been last August or something,
Yeah.
or September.
Yeah,
I
It's
mid to
think
late summer.
he
Yeah.
might have appeared as well when I was guest hosting. He was put in jail. If you don't know, Hoarder, it's up in Michigan. This is in McNally's court. And this guy, he's had a property and it's in various states of cluttered, might be his word. It's not as bad as you would think, but it still does the property does need to be picked up because the city has told him that, he needs to. And this has sparked a lot of discussion and controversy here.
Yes.
But, he keeps making excuses why he can't do it.
Mhm.
And the judge
Right.
has tried so hard. And he's even had people offer to help him. And he kind of hems and haws at it. And so he's been put in jail for 5 days once, I think another 3 days another time. And I think recently he got put in for another 5 or 10. I can't remember.
He also accused officers for taking his things.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
One of the visits.
Yeah.
Which is funny because how could he totally account for what was taken.
Yeah.
There's so
He
much.
said he
But
knows everything that he has, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd pull it up if I had the address handy, but I don't anymore. It's buried in the archives, so I don't know I get it in time. But we actually pulled up Google Earth on this guy's property, and we
Yes.
looked back through the years, and nothing has changed. Except
We went back
I
to
think-
2011, I think.
Yeah, except I think his boat got moved once.
Yeah,
But other
from
than
one
that-
side of the yard to the other,
One
from
side
what
or
I
the other.
remember.
But yeah, and that's
Now,
just outside.
What's
We
weird is
only know
part
it's inside.
of his property actually isn't bad.
Yep.
It's not all, completely disheveled and it doesn't look all terrible. It just part of it. And I know that's why some people have said, why can't we just leave this guy alone? And it's been a hotly contested issue. I know in the chat we've gone back and forth on it, and but Hoarder Man's been a long going thing,
Yeah.
and I think we'll see him again next week, right? So
Yeah, next
Yep.
week.
Yep.
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
so-
not sure on any other cases or defendants that stick out. I mean, we've had the care stuff, the couple there for obvious
Yeah.
reasons stick out.
Yep.
But I think my judge of the year so far might just be Judge O'Donnell,
Yeah.
because he's
The
just
most memorable judge.
he is so plain spoken and in people's faces. I just posted
Even-
a short a couple of hours ago where he just tells the guy, "You don't give a shit," and the guy goes, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "No, you don't." He just-
He's like Judge Oakley, but with even less filter,
yeah.
if that's possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a couple of other cases. We've some pretty crazy stuff in Stevens Court. We've seen a couple of people that have, I think the other day, somebody with 15 theft convictions.
Yes.
We've had some just crazy career criminals. Those kinds of things too always stand out. When you see someone that has Judge Mercer had somebody the other day. He goes, "This is the longest criminal record I've ever seen." He goes, "It's like 30 pages."
Yeah.
No, it's longer than that.
Yeah.
They were going back and forth about it being 30 or 40, and
Ridiculous.
yeah.
Hold on, I'll look. I'm pretty sure.
And he says like,
I made a note of this.
yeah, and I think, one of the attorney, I think Mr. McDaniel points out, well, Judge, just because, he's got 40 pages, that doesn't mean that all of them, it's all convictions,
Yeah, I need to correct you. It was 300 pages.
300 pages. I'm sorry. I misplaced the
was-
decimal.
Wow.
It's an accounting error.
Let's see, but that is horrible. I don't know
300
how
page rap sheet.
somebody that has 300 pages
It's
of
like-
their record.
Yeah.
Oh, Lindsay just showed up. Hi, Lindsay. We were just discussing your thing, but we went into judges instead because we couldn't think of enough defendants.
We were sort of going through. Yeah, I mean,
So many of them.
well, because since it is kind of an off the top of your head thing, I thought of a couple of cases, but I know if I had a little bit more time, I could go back and really, and kind of sort, because sometimes some of them run together, because I know there's some in Simpson's Court, but I think they are from late last year. We've seen a couple of soft sits.
Oh.
There's the one in and I think that's this year, in front of Brantley Clark, the soft sit, and
Oh, yep.
Brantley Clark shot that down beautifully.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep.
I saw that.
So
Lindsay said it's in intermission. Let's stream Sidebar to the Jumbotron. Lindsay, if you can get that done, you'll be the TCF hero.
Yep. If you scroll back up, I posted a comment, get the stadium to put us on.
Right?
yeah, I was able to put TCF on. I went to one of Michelle's doctor's appointments once, and they had like a couple of TVs in the waiting room, and you can access those TVs like
Nice.
so I was able to put TCF up on one of the TVs.
Yep.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
A lot of doctors' offices have
via my phone.
TVs now, and you can
Oh,
just
yeah.
go to
for
YouTube,
sure.
put in TCF, and bring
Dude,
it up.
it's way better than the crap they're showing in there. They're always just showing like,
Home and Garden channel.
yes, that's exactly what it is. Actually, it's always like,
HGTV.
home makeovers and, or something where they have like a bake off with cakes or something. Which again,
I like
food's
the
great.
break-offs, but that's just me.
But I'd rather have TCF on.
I'd rather have TCF too, but I like the
Check-
bake-off show, especially
You'll
if
get
it's
your
British.
PayPal donation later for that. So
Alrighty.
from Barbara, does a judge's mood affect their sentence?
You'd like to say no, and it
But
shouldn't.
it does.
But
But
I
it
guess
does.
it
does
depends
to
on.
an extent. So judges have
Yeah.
to usually stay between guidelines.
Yep.
So
I guess it
there's
depends on
always-
what you mean by mood, though.
Yeah. Are you? I mean, today, for instance, there's Judge Stevens.
Oh,
He was cranky.
he was
I'm
really.
just going to use him as an example. Sorry,
Now
Judge.
Stevens erupted today.
But
Yep.
Judge Stevens was in a very bad mood.
Yes.
Did he do more talks today than he usually does? Yes. Does he sentence harsher than he usually does? Hard to say, because every case is different, and every case has its own guidelines.
Yep.
So I'm not sure. But you could definitely tell if a judge is in a mood or not.
Well, and to that point, I will say, so I think the judge that comes to mind right away is Judge West, because she'll say to somebody, "Are you going to interrupt me while I'm about to put a sentence on you?" And like really, and I always think this, like, yeah, I mean, I certainly would keep my mouth shut before a judge is about to hand down a sentence, even though should they tack on years just because I'm being a jerk at that moment? Probably not. But the reality is, when you give someone some wiggle room, they might wiggle a little over this way because you were interrupting them or because you were being in contempt or whatever. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
There's two I can remember off the top of my head. One is Stevens after the family fight where he got them all together and then says, "I can't deal with this now. And
Yeah.
we'll bring you back." And part of that was the trial that he had coming up. But part of it, I think, was he was just so pissed that he knew or he felt he might, or it would look like he might be sentencing harder or
Yeah, that's a good
ruling
point,
harder.
Austin.
And then
Really
the
good
other
one,
one
Austin. Yeah.
I
that
didn't
I
think
have
about that,
is-
but they can delay it. You're right.
Yep.
If they
Yeah.
wanted to. Go ahead. I'm
and
sorry.
the other one I'm thinking of is Simpson when he actually got off the bench at one point after going back and forth with somebody. And he's like, he threw his stuff down and he took a few minutes, came back again.
Is that the one where the attorneys wouldn't show up or something?
I think that is.
Yeah. The attorneys wouldn't show up in this court, and he's like, "Where are they? They're just hanging out over there." And he just like got up and left.
He was starting out. He was jovial for a while, and then he kept trying to go to a case or something, and he's like, "Oh, that they're still in the back," and then are they still just talking back there? And then his mood changed so quickly, and he goes, "Court standard." He's just, "We stand in recess," and he's like, "Bond won't continue," and he's just the equivalent of me throwing down my headphones, and and he just got up and just stormed out. And when his stream came back later, he well, for a little while, for a brief period, he definitely was not having it, and then he kind of lightened up. But yeah, so
It took him a minute.
so yeah, to answer the question, could it? I mean, yeah, it sure could. Should it? It really shouldn't, but judges are humans, so.
Well,
Yeah,
I
and
think at
that
the
was
very
what I was
least,
thinking. Go ahead, Dan.
I was to say, I think at the very least, you're making your life difficult if you get the judge cranky. I mean, it's not going to make whatever it is that you're in there to do go smoothly. I mean, Stevens was so ticked off by this guy who was in front of him today that once he pulled the bond or whatever it was he did, and there was the relative in the back who started crying, and he threatened contempt on the relative just for crying.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
how dare you disrupt this proceeding?
That one
Tears.
surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
he really, well, I think it started because it was like dudes wearing just like a t-shirt,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he doesn't like that. It reminds me of the guy that wore like a hockey jersey in there or whatever, and he just had a
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
yeah. Yeah, he had a fit about that.
Yes.
I tell you, that is a judge. I mean, we talk about McNally or some of these. No. Don't. Judge Stevens is just not the guy I'd want to get under his skin.
McNally this week as well.
Yeah.
was one
He's
that
Got cranky with that lawyer.
He got cranky.
Boy, did he.
That is a separate video that you can watch here on TCF when you're done. But
He-
yeah,
He
kind of calmed down. Cooler heads prevailed, but
it was at an attorney, right?
yes.
yes.
And
Yes.
Well, it was the defendant and the attorney, because he started out by going after kind of the defendant, because what had happened was there was supposed to be, this case was supposed to go to trial. He wanted a trial, and he said no more adjournments. A motion got filed for like an adjournment or a continuance or whatever.
Right.
And he said, I'm not going to take that. And at first he kind of went after the defendant, but then he goes, why would you file this? And he looks at the attorney. Why would you do that?
Right.
And he said, this is, I don't just, I don't know. McNally tried to really restrain himself, but he got pretty upset.
I thought that the attorney was trying to pull wool over his eyes.
Yes.
Yep.
He goes, you don't think I'm going to remember?
Right.
And I just think that's one of those things. And, attorneys kind of, they'll do whatever they are able to get away with. And yeah, that's one of those. And then he told him, well, it's because my client is starting a new job, like today or yesterday. And he goes, okay, well, if you would have filed an emergency motion, I would have heard that. But this was just like, I thought you were trying to pull a fast one. And again, he did calm down.
Calmed down after that, though, once he explained why he was doing this. But
this is another one of those things where communication would have been key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Breakdown in communication for sure. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if he would have just called and like asked how you want me to handle this type thing, he probably would tell him how to handle it. But it's just one of those things. But yeah, I like y'all were saying, judges are human for sure, and judges don't have an easy job. And I won't say they do. They just don't have an easy job. They have to deal with people all day. Some people, like Judge Glazer, can handle people fine to a certain extent, but then later maybe kind of lose it after maybe a handful of them or whatnot. But they are people. And I think the best thing for a judge to do is to step away when they are fired up and maybe just take 5 minutes. Because what's 5 minutes? You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes I have to do that at work too. Sometimes I just have to get up, walk around, come back because things get to
Judge
you.
Glazer does it.
Nope.
Judge Glazer
Yep.
doesn't. Maybe she should do more of that.
No,
but
she has. She has done
busy-
it. I was saying she does
Yeah,
do
Oh,
it.
she does.
They've
Okay,
they've hot swapped her for guest judges like mid docket before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. She had to take a mini vacation or something.
She
She's got to go get a.
goes to
get herself
Aruba
a
in the middle of her
snack.
docket.
So
She's hungry.
Well, or that, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
when
don't
it
know
gets
if
to be
we-
about 11:30 in Miami-Dade, you know it's hangry time down there in Glazer's court.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think just the rule of thumb is treat judges with respect. They don't get as much respect as they deserve. So try and make it easy on them so they don't throw the book at you, maybe. So there you go.
Nina points out that Judge Glazer has a totally different personality on court cam than she does on live stream. Well, that's because court cam is like just picking and choosing off of her
Yeah.
stream. So they're
Well-
capturing, and I know the one that she's talking about. I've
Yeah.
seen it, the clip.
Yeah.
And it's just, they caught a moment.
And I will say I've seen her smile. I've seen her in a good mood before. I mean, when I was guest hosting, I think I even pointed out, I was like, wow, a Judge Glazer smile, everybody. Like, it's one of those things where she, these things happen. I mean, but, look, we've talked about this before too. I think if any of us were a judge in Miami-Dade in that court, where you're doing, these are mostly felony appearances, and it is she said before, the docket's 26, 28, 30 pages long, and they're there till late in the afternoon going through these. I mean, yeah, I think after a while, and you just
I'd be irritated.
yeah.
Yeah, that's an insane docket.
There's they could run 24/7 there and still have a line.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter if they hire another judge, and it wouldn't make a difference hardly.
Well, last year Dan did a 4th of July show, and we went to Miami. I think there was a guest judge there in Glazer's court, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
so even the courts don't stop. At least some of those first appearances, anyway. Those courts don't stop for the holidays. The magistrate court, the El Paso jail court, the I think hallway court. I mean, a lot of these don't stop just because it's a holiday.
No, I
had to bring
just
up
turned
holiday.
stream because I was just sitting in the studio here working on a couple of things, and I looked through the feed and there's like a dozen first appearance courts running.
Yeah.
Because they were just it was a lot of, it was, if I recall correctly, it was a lot of drunk people, so drunk driving or disorderly. There was a lot of fighting, assault, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy.
As is often the case in the holidays.
Yep. Let's celebrate by beating each other up and getting drunk.
Yep.
Shooting guns in the air. Always a good idea as well. Or fireworks.
Yeah.
Oh, just
Or you shoot off the firework and then you shoot the firework with your gun.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that. A creative twist, Dan.
Well, that's what they do here in our neighborhood. Good
Yeah.
times.
In the West Valley.
I never
Instead
seen
of-
that done actually, so that's interesting.
It's
Instead
like
of
skeet shooting,
Yeah.
That was going to be
only
my.
brighter.
Pull.
I see.
Yep.
Pool. Yeah, pool.
Exactly.
Quick,
See,
light it.
Michael's seen
Come
it. He
on.
understands.
Well, again, we live in the relatively same area, Dan. So,
Yeah.
It's
It's interesting.
Wahoo
It is.
brought up Judge Mogan.
Judge Mogan gets frustrated, but I haven't seen her go off track. No, she's lost her. She's gotten angry.
She has.
Yeah.
She's lost her cool. I've heard her threaten people. I've heard her threaten to take away bonds and stuff.
Oh
Bonds
So-
yeah, there
continue.
has been a couple of those from her.
The
Mhm.
most
That- no.
memorable Judge Mogan. It's not from this year, but it definitely is top of my mind. So there was a case where the prosecutor, they had reached an agreement, and Judge Mogan hated this agreement, but she pretty much said, "Look, I follow these agreements. I don't like it, but I'm going to follow it." The defendant was kind of a smart aleck sort of, just a real sort of one of these. He was that guy for sure. Really kind of arrogant, had this air about him, and the judge was just frustrated with him. He sort of didn't completely agree to the facts of the case, and the judge said, "Hey, listen, are you sure? Because you stipulated this is part of your plea agreement." And he said, "Well, it wasn't exactly like that. It was this and this." And all he had to say was, "Yes, guilty, and yes, this is what happened, and yes, I agree." And he wanted to argue that, he got very pedantic with the judge, and Mogan just went, "Okay, we're going to set the trial for next Thursday." And she was just so excited. She was like elated to just take it to trial, because that way, she would inevitably, when he gets found guilty, she would get to throw the book at this guy, which is what she really wanted to do. And he should have had the book thrown at him, as I remember.
Yep.
And she just was over the moon about it. And because she was mad. This is one of those agreements that she did not like. So I just remember that case, kind of the general nature of it.
And I think
So
it was last year, but the one where they were getting ready for a trial, and I don't remember if it was a defendant pro se or if it was an actual attorney, but he tried to place something, tried to go in the day of the trial and have them figure something out because his presentation would not play. But yet the whole week before, she was open so they could do that.
Oh,
But
right.
he wanted to do it the day of, like, as it's starting.
Yes. I do remember that. That was an interesting
Yeah.
She got really mad about that too. So she keeps a pretty good composure, but you can see there are times where the heart's on the sleeve there a little bit, but she does try to keep it together.
Yeah.
But
So
I always like
Nance-
going to her court because, again, because we love the audio there. It's very good.
Oh, their production values are great for a county of 60,000 people. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Are there even
Nancy says,
60,000 there?
yeah, it's only like 65,000 or something like that.
Oh.
So Nancy says, what do you think about judges slamming people for drinking and then see them in a restaurant or a club almost pouring drinks down their throat? Oh, so you mean like the judge is out drinking after slamming somebody for drinking?
I'm kind of indifferent to that, because it's one thing for someone to be drinking at a bar or something, but it's another thing to see them driving. Now I've seen, I can't recall which judge this was, but I saw it on Instagram one time, and this was before the whole AI slop stuff started, so it was real. But she got caught drunk. She was pulled over for being drunk, and she was a judge. And she tried to keep it like, please, I am a judge, don't do this to me. And it didn't matter. So I think judges should be treated just like everybody else. I think they drink fine. If they take an Uber home, get somebody to drive them home, that's fine. If judges are on the road and they're impaired, that's where we have an issue. I think it's practice what you preach, is what Nancy's trying to say here. And I think they're fine as long as they don't put the public in harm.
I think that it's a duty of somebody in a public facing position to probably overcorrect in public and mind their P's and Q's, because of the impact that it may have on the community if they go too far.
Right.
So in my mind, if you're in that kind of position and you're out, okay, if you have a glass of wine with dinner, so be it. But you probably shouldn't be out in the bar just pounding them down, because the risk of you doing something that's going to affect the community in a bad way is probably too high. I can tell you, for me, and this may sound stupid because this is not a huge channel. We've only been around for a year and a half, but I've already thought about the fact that I've put myself in a public facing position. And as such, yeah, I've thought about how I behave when I'm out.
Yep.
And it's already affected me from a standpoint of, let's be a little bit nicer, let's watch our words and stuff like that, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody say, "Oh,
Right.
I saw that guy. I know who he is," and and then they get a negative view. I mean, it's a lot less damaging if somebody finds me doing something wrong than a judge, but you get my point.
Right.
If you have
Right.
a public face, I think there's something to be said for being more mindful of how you behave.
Yes.
I kind of agree with that, Dan. I mean, when you put it that way, I mean, it's not like every day you see, or I don't know, I don't, because I don't go to bars. But if you have a judge just gulping things down, it looks like they have an issue, than actually being responsible with it. So I could kind of see it that way too.
But I will say, there's nothing illegal about a judge tipping back a few after hours, even if it's at a restaurant or a bar, and if they're calling a Lyft or a rideshare or a taxi or whatever, or somebody else is driving them home. I mean, that's fine. I mean, they can slam people for drinking and driving because, they're not being hypocrites just because they go and drink. If in fact, what they're basically saying is, hey, I went out and drank last night, but you know what I did? I called for a rideshare or a taxi, or I had a designated driver. I did it the right way. You can go out and get hammered all you want. Nobody says you can't. What you can't do is get behind the wheel of a car after you've been drinking or after you've done weed or whatever it is. Just be that, demonstrate that level of responsibility. That's it.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but I think if you're a judge or a police officer or anybody who has power over somebody else, and you're out in public and you've had enough that you're like slurring your speech or whatnot, that's a very bad look.
It is. It's not good optics.
But I also have no doubt that the majority of judges have a bottle or two, if not a whole mini bar, back in their chambers.
Look,
I'm sure.
Some of the stuff that they see and hear and have to deal with, I don't know how. And the same thing for police officers, because, police officers get a lot of crap, and some of it is deserved, but a lot of it is not, because there's a lot of very good police officers, more good than bad. If you saw half the crap that they see and hear and are privy to, some of the non-redacted stuff, I don't know. I'd probably drink too. I mean, there's a lot. Sometimes it's hard. That's one of those things. It's not an easy job. We think that being a judge or being a police officer or involved in the justice system in some way is a relatively simple thing, or we'd like to do it. But I don't know if I'd like to do that. I think that would be really tough.
Yep.
Yeah. Wahoo said as well in the chat, he's talking about as a former elected public official and how my behavior made a difference and set an example in some circumstances.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And that's just the thing too, is, oftentimes just leading by example is what you should do. I mean, your words are one thing, but what you do and how you live your life says a lot more than what you tell people.
Yes.
Right.
So, that's an important thing, especially if you're a judge that, wants to sort of, and again, there's nothing wrong with a judge having a drink or whatever. Nobody says that, but yeah. Being responsible.
Yeah, and
reasonable, measured.
it goes with police officers too. If you see police officers that had maybe a few too many and is on the road, and we see them sometimes. I mean, even on YouTube, I see them sometimes be pulled over by other cops in the same. It's very awkward for them, but
county sheriff. I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah, sheriffs, police officers, they're pulled over by their own. And
there was one in Bernalillo County in New Mexico, so the Albuquerque area, where the cop that got pulled over was on his way to work. Wow. And he got pulled over, and he was in his cruiser on his way to work, and a state trooper pulled him over and cited him with DUI. And the guy's sergeant came out to
get the car,
to, grab the cruiser and stuff, so they didn't tow it.
Yep.
It does happen, unfortunately. Yeah. And like we've been saying, they're human. Everybody makes mistakes and doesn't make the right judgment calls, especially when it comes to drinking. And I know police officers work long hours. So maybe they're called in. Maybe they're on call for something and they've been drinking. I'm sure that happens too. Yep. So, yeah.
That actually reminds me of a thing I saw not long ago. There was some sort of an accident scene, and they needed as much help as they could get. So on the way, the sheriff was already off, and he had been drinking, and he pulled up to the scene to help. And he was in his personal vehicle, his personal clothes, and he got up and walks up to the state trooper, who was, I guess, the most senior officer at that point. And he goes, "What can I do to help?" And one of his other guys, the sheriff's guys, comes up and goes, "Just go. We've got this." Trying to save him, but the state had already smelt the alcohol. And so state called his boss, and sheriff ended up getting arrested for DUI.
Yeah.
And they also tried to charge him he had his firearm on him. But that charge got dismissed somehow.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. I completely unrelated, but I wanted to bring this up because, it's funny how someone asks a question and just stuff pops into your head. And I don't know where this came from. This is one of those random thoughts, right? But that's what Sidebar is. So, but I was thinking about Lindsay's question about the most memorable cases, and how could we have forgotten? And this is only a few weeks back, or several weeks maybe now. I guess all the days run together. But the DoorDash case. Where no, I'm a DoorDash driver, so it's okay that I break traffic laws.
Yep.
Yes,
that was
DoorDashers are protected class now.
Yes, was in Magistrate Chisholm, right? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was in Michigan.
Where the DoorDash and Uber Eats people got a sour taste in my mouth after that, because I'm like, do they all think this way? Oh no,
I don't think so. But
I don't.
That guy definitely did, and that was his legal argument. Was, well, you don't understand. I drive for DoorDash, and it's. And they said I can do it. And since they said I can do it, I can. And I gotta say, this is another one of those things, how judges keep their cool when someone presents such an inane, an asinine, just a stupid argument. Yep. How do they keep their cool like that? I know some don't, but I mean, even the ones that kind of get mad, like a McNally or something, how do they just not turn into those AI slop pictures where the fangs are out and
I think there's a difference between like first appearance court and traffic court. That was traffic court.
Yeah.
I think they hear a lot of stupid things that maybe we don't hear.
Traffic court might be worse. Yeah,
yes,
for stupid arguments.
Yeah. And so they have much more practice, I would believe.
The stakes are lower, but the arguments are dumber. I mean, it's
it's actually entertaining when we go to traffic court.
Oh, very much so.
Yep.
Like you see like 3 procedural. Oh yeah, I'm gonna plead to impeding traffic. But then there's the guy that'll come in and pull either a sov sit deal, or he'll be like, "Nah, man, it doesn't apply because I drive for DoorDash and I was or the ones that I just pulled there for 30 seconds in front of the fire hydrant, so."
Yeah.
There's a time limit. Judge, there's a code, there's a time limit.
Or that woman that was trying to stop, that now that we're bringing up traffic court, now it's coming to mind. There was a woman that was trying to stop at the light, and she said it was too icy for her to stop completely. That type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this just dawned on me. At some point, are we going to have a separate DoorDash license plate like we have a separate diplomat license plate so that the cops know that they're exempt from the laws?
I've got DoorDash immunity.
Yeah.
No, they're going to have one of those, like the badges that the undercover police have in the little wallet. No, I work for DoorDash.
Special Agent Johnson, Grubhub driver.
I wouldn't put it past them though, Dan, if they made a special license plate for them.
Well,
I believe it.
If we get fully into Idiocracy, it will certainly happen and be sponsored by Carl's Jr. So Grandma TCF asks, if you needed to hire a lawyer, besides what the cost is, what questions would you ask before hiring him or her?
I would ask, have you handled any cases like mine? And how many have you handled, and what is your track record is what I would kind of ask.
Yeah, it would depend on what the case is, but yeah, those are good questions.
And then it's not necessarily a question, but what I would do beforehand is go on your state's, like the lawyer board, the review board, and see what their record is, if they've been suspended for anything or
any bar association complaints.
Bar association, thank you.
Yeah.
Have you seen TCF? And if so, what are your thoughts on it?
Yep.
Now, I say that because I've had that discussion with an attorney who is currently doing work for us on a civil matter, which I can't discuss right now.
Yep.
But he wasn't familiar with TCF, but he's actually now a subscriber.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Well,
hello,
that
lawyer
is very
dude.
Cool. That is cool. Actually, you know what question I would ask is, if you know what judge you have, ask them about the judge, what they know about that particular judge, the mannerisms, like how does this judge generally go? And we all know that there are some judges and some attorneys that do not see eye to eye.
Yes.
That do not seem to get along, and others that seem to have a great rapport.
Yeah.
And we've seen it before, right? And this was a complaint about Judge Boyd, and I love Judge Boyd, but I did see that there were attorneys, one in particular, that seemed to believe that Judge Boyd had something against him.
Yep.
And
I remember that one.
And that went through a whole hearing, that went through a whole process. So that I would definitely ask about that.
Yep.
I would,
strange though it might sound.
I would also ask how long would it take for my case to be resolved as well, and kind of what kind of implications am I looking to be serving? Like what kind of result am I expected to see? Like which way could it go? I guess like what's the worst case scenario and what's the best case scenario, so I can kind of maybe draw my line in the middle. I would ask that too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, we got a couple more minutes. There's something I wanted to bring up. Did you guys notice today when we were watching Stevens how shaky he was?
Yes.
I've noticed before that he's got a little bit of a tremor, but it was super pronounced today.
Yeah,
Now,
I
we're
saw
not
it a
doctors
little
and
bit.
we don't know, but I wonder if he has some kind of Parkinson's or something. It seems to be getting worse. And
Or- yeah.
and funny, not funny, but I wonder if that's part of the problem he has with those tablets.
That could be.
Well, in fairness, Judge West, we hear the same complaint over there.
Yeah.
So I just think Jefferson County has terrible tablets in their court system.
Yeah.
I agree.
in their
And
courthouse.
I think Judge West and Judge Stevens. Judge Stevens is older than Judge West.
Oh, by about 87 years.
And yeah, older people and electronics don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
No.
So
Yeah.
there's that too.
I mean,
I bring it up
saw
'cause
how
I-
the
I-
Magna Carta was signed. I mean,
Yeah. I bring it up because I hope he's all right. Because
No,
he picked up a
seriously.
drink and he was like this.
I did notice that. Yep.
Yeah.
He was
My,
struggling with it.
Yep.
My family has a problem with blood sugar at times. So I don't know if his blood
could be.
sugar, if that was something too, if he has blood sugar issues too.
Well, and we've
Could be
seen him
many
kind of
things.
Yep.
we've seen him go in the back a few times more lately, and maybe that's it too. Actually, maybe he's just got to go and take a shot or
Take
I don't
Right,
know.
grab a
you know,
snack or
Or in the
something.
case of
Yeah.
today, do a shot.
or do well after
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. But that it's a very good point, and we might bust his chops a little bit, but yeah, I do hope he's okay.
yeah.
I think he's 72.
That sounds right.
Yep.
I mean,
Do
he's.
they phase out in?
I don't
Over
believe
there?
they do in Texas.
I don't
think
think
so.
so. I think in Texas you can be a judge if you're, you could be 700 years old as long as you can sit down on that bench. I mean, I think.
Yeah. You know who else we're going to lose in a couple of years is Akalina. She's 68.
Yep.
Is she really?
She
Yeah.
don't look like it.
Now, I don't know what her terms are.
Right.
A lot of them are up this year. If she's up this year and gets reelected, then that would get her another 6. Because I believe they do
Interesting.
6 years.
Oh, is it
But-
6 there? Okay.
I think it's 6. It could be 4, but either way, if it's this year, she'll be okay. If
Yeah.
it's 28, she'll be aged out,
Yep.
Yeah.
and we'll only get her for 2 more years.
Yeah, Texas judges do not phase out like Michigan. So good enough.
Yeah. McNally,
Yeah.
I think, is 31. Is going to be 2031.
I'm not a fan of that Michigan law,
I
especially today,
Yeah.
because people are living longer. There's a lot of these people that are just sharp as a tack.
Yep. Yeah, it shouldn't
Um,
be
Like
age based.
Judge
It
McNally-
should be performance based. Can you still do the job? If so, keep them on the bench. If they're having trouble, like with their mind or their body, then maybe they should start phasing out.
well,
And I don't think they make attorneys like they used to as well. And it kind of makes me sad.
They don't make
'Cause I-
anything like they used to.
Right, exactly. So if you can keep a good judge on the bench for longer, I would think that would be a more public benefit. Also for the court as well, because I know they're paid a certain amount and everything. But if you bring somebody new in, they might have to have, they'll have to discuss like different pays and stuff. I don't know how all that works, but that's usually how people work when they transition. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if the one thing I will say though is if it's a 6-year term, I mean, okay, 6 years is an awful lot of time for a brain to turn to mush, and you could have a judge by about year 4, really plunge into that dementia or senility or whatever very quickly, and I mean, they're just by that time, and it's very, very hard to get a judge off the bench. You need a judicial review board. You need to go through a lot of steps to get them off the bench in the middle of their term.
Yep.
And, so that's, when you're talking about a judge, you're talking about people's lives. And that's the one area I'm a little concerned about. Now, do I totally agree with that term, the phasing out? No, but I'm just saying that it is, that's a concern when you start to get up into the 70s and toward 80.
What I think they should do? I think they should, when they hit like 60 or like 65, however age you set it at, I think they should do about kind of an evaluation to see, and then go every 2 years and kind of check on them again. Maybe that would help instead of 6 years. I don't know.
I was gonna say every year after age 65,
something like that.
Exam
Yep.
that goes to the judicial review board.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't have to be like a full forensic evaluation, but just kind of a a little bit of a checkup, and because you can see if someone's really dipping into the dementia. I mean, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly.
Yeah. That maybe even add in a little piece of, for lack of a better term, a mini bar exam. Make sure they still are able to know the laws. And,
I took that differently too. I was thinking of a mini bar.
As soon as Michael said it,
They'll examine the mini bar in judges' chambers, make sure it's still up to snuff, make sure he's maintaining it. If he or she is maintaining it, then it's good proof that they're still good to go out on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's top shelf stuff, that's really
lots
good.
Of beer. You've got some champagne in here, some wine, schnapps. Oh, blackberry brandy. You are super stocked.
What's
mini
this
bar
natty
passed.
light in here? We need to talk.
Natty light.
I don't think any judge should be forced to serve their full 6 years if they don't feel up to it too.
Yep.
And some of them might not feel up to it. So, like we're talking about the dementia and stuff like that. They should be able to, drop out when they see fit, because only they know themselves.
Some dude, Judge Belersian in Allegan County late last year, just left. It's like, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, gotcha. They can still just drop out.
Oh yeah, they can. A judge can step down.
Resigned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine then.
And he stuck around long enough for the governor up there to appoint somebody else, and that person actually shadowed him for a week.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So you could see what was going on, but yeah.
Yep. In some cases, the person drop out and then it just sit void until they can do an election, versus doing the election and then having them, like Dan just said, step down after work.
That's true, Nina.
Kind of showing the guy how to do it. Yes, I agree with that.
Well, we are out of time, my friends. Any final thoughts on our discussion today, or anything else you wanted to quickly mention before we go? Austin?
No, not that I can think of. I enjoy doing this, though.
Yeah, this is always this is a very fun after a couple of very heavy shows. This is a fun one. My only regret is that Lindsay wasn't here to participate fully, although she did drop in a good question. So that was good. But I like I like our free flowing, like last Thursday or last show of the month sort of viewer generated topic driven sort of a show. I think that's great.
Yes.
Well, this is closer to what we do before we actually go live.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
If you wonder what happens when we're not live, it's this.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Right.
Other
And
than
I-
Ashley cursing up a storm, I mean that.
Well,
just,
Oh yeah, right.
Sometimes
Definitely.
it's just overwhelming.
Yes.
Yep.
Dark language with Ashley.
Man, I blush sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I think I got that pretty much under control though.
Well,
But-
once we turn the camera on.
Yeah.
The switch is flipped.
Y'all just never know.
So,
It's always
And-
the good ones, right?
yeah, I was just going to ask any final thoughts from you before we turn the camera off and you become something completely different.
I want to thank our lovely lovely chat for giving us topics. You made this
Yes.
thing run smoothly. If you didn't say any topics, it makes it go really slow. So I appreciate you guys and everything that you do for the channel as well. But no, I guess I'll go back into Ashley's dark speaking in a little bit.
I say hold on until I turn us off here.
I will, yeah, I'll hold it
thank
in.
Thank
Make
you.
sure the red light's off.
I wanted to point out that this is Sidebar episode number 64 already
Oh my God.
of a
Wow.
show that was not my idea.
Oh my
It was
god.
you
Yeah.
guys that came to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we can do that." And 64 episodes later, we're still doing it,
Damn.
and it's some of the most fun that I have during the week. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
'Cause
It's the
this
most
is
fun
cool.
I have during the week too, because me introvert equals me talking on the camera is interesting. So
There you go.
Yep.
But we still don't have enough viewers. See, I got to fix that for us. Share this thing with other people, please. We're all anybody on YouTube right now. I don't care who they are. Even Mr. Beast with his millions upon millions of subscribers. We're all struggling for views right now.
Yep.
And the more that you guys can share and let other people know about us, it helps. If you have like an X account or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, if you can share on those places, it helps. Anything you can do, please and thank you. Not just for us, but for any creator that you enjoy, share their stuff, because we all kind of need it right now. So with
Very
that,
true.
yeah, with that, I will leave you. We will all leave you. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific time. We really need one time zone. Freedom time, people. Tell me, get that
yes,
fixed.
confusing.
That'll save me hundreds of words every week if we just had
Yes.
one time zone.
Yes.
Think of Dan's
With
throat.
just one time zone, you
Yes.
could save hundreds of words a week.
Exactly.
It doesn't help that
Michael
the side.
understands.
It doesn't help that Sidebar starts at a different time than in the blind as well. So
That's
One
by
time.
design. It's to keep somebody guessing.
Yep.
Right, Michael?
That's right.
Now,
right,
which
everybody.
person? We'll never tell.
See you tomorrow morning. Take care. God bless.
Bye bye.
bye
Have a good night,
guys.
y'all.